Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Resting Place podcast. I'm Dapo Agiri and I'm really pleased to be joined by Anna Maria, aka Anman. What are we saying?
I'm so happy to be here. This is a really nice environment that you've
Cultivated. Yeah, shout
cultivated,
out Pirate. Hopefully one of these days we'll upgrade to a little. I want one of those like.
Pirate needs to sponsor you.
This is what I've got this free promo for them all the time, but I kind of want one of those like studios with like a sofa.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when people look at podcasts now, they want
the visual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We could chuck on some little like gifts and like little flower plant gifts or animation. Let's discuss that for next time.
In post, we'll do it. We'll do an edit. Yeah, we've been talking about a green screen, but I just don't know if I can be bothered to like lug a green screen everywhere. If you could just tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about kind of where, generally who Anman is. Mm-hmm. How it came to be, like how you became your like persona, and then we'll dive into the music later.
Yes, so I was a theatre kid always.
I've just
been doing like
I kind of feel like a lot of the best people are like, a lot of people that I really resonate with. They had that little theatre background.
Definitely, and because that's the thing. I think in the UK that you get a lot of access to as a kid to like youth theatres and improv drama group and stuff like that, and I feel like that's why I helped on that, because when I came here when I was like 10 and moved here, I was really like ADHD, kind of doing loads of, I don't know, like just ripping shit apart and just sticking stuff together. I don't know, just like making a mess out of everything and just not be able to sit still and relax or whatnot. And they just recommended, as a therapeutic method to take me to like a youth, and I went to, what was it, Blue Elephant Theatre, in near Elephant Castle, like that, south, and so since then I've just been doing theatre. Then I went to do like acting, kind of, it was like acting and theatre kind of making kind of thing at Brit, and then from there it was at I went to drama school and did like but that degree that I did was more like hands-on, like being a theatre practitioner as much as acting. Because at that point I was like, I want to make my own stuff. At that point I was already doing this, like making these multimedia video art collagey things and like writing poetry. I did a lot of like poetry slams and things, and it was like layers of my poetry and like Georgian vocal loops and stuff, because I didn't know how to play anything and I wanted to create these soundscapes, and it was a lot of Georgian is very percussive and intense and melodic, and I was just laying out Georgian like syllables, whatever sounds, tongue twisters, and making little soundscapes from them, and then putting my poetry on top of that and doing like character voices and whatnot, and just a lot of like scrap,
how did these sort of ideas come about for you? Like, was it just
what I wanted? Like, I wanted to make audiovisual pieces. Mainly it was just that I wanted to document things about in Georgia, because I just missed it so much, and there was things that I couldn't explain to people here, and I just wanted to bring it back here and show them, but not in like, oh, here's a photo of my street, but like here's this little like swan made out of tires that's on the corner of my street, but then layered on top of like the sounds from the metro, whatever, and I'd record poetry on top of it and translate a lot of Georgian songs, and that's when I started getting into, I was like, actually want to make music as well, because I was translating Georgian like songs, and I wanted to make them into English songs, and it's literally all just wanting to show people like from my lens what Georgia was or whatever. And like, because I tell people like, oh, I'm from Georgia, they'd be like, oh, you don't sound American, like, what was that? Atlanta. And I'd just be like, I don't know, you don't know anything, I don't know. And I just wanted to explain it, because there's I'm a very obsessive fixating person, I don't know, and I was just like fixated on wanting to go back there, and like my friends at school there who I like left or whatever, and even now like the music I listen to is, or I fixate on something and I listen to that on repeat, and like I'm always just like, I really want to discover new artists, and I want to be tapped into the music industry, whatever, and what's happening, but I'm really not, because I'm just fixated on one thing at a time. And that's why the music I started to make when I got into it was just a scrap of different of my own like different little childhood inspirations, and not like not in a genre, and I also, and it didn't sound like music at all. It sounded just like weirdness, sounds and like vocals and whatever. And then that's why I was lucky enough to fall in with a gang of musicians who were also actors and performers. And during COVID, some of my friends some who I lived with, some who ended up living with during COVID, we just collaborated on my like weird vocal loops and poetry, and they're like musical arrangements and made some music that could be called music. And then all of them who I lived with, like the boys who made like actual like alt hip hop kind of spoken wordy music, rappy stuff, like they kind of gave me like a musical education in modern stuff, because all I listened to was like The Cure and Pulp and like Led Zeppelin and like just all the Beatles albums again and again on repeat.
It's a classic foundation.
And so my friends had this rap music collective group called Clockwork Graveyard. They've just dropped a sick new album.
Okay,
so you can check it out.
All right.
But and they were influenced by a lot of current and new school, old school, hip hop, whatever, so much stuff, and London, music that originates here, because it's so authentic what they do to here, because they grew up here, and that's like all the music comes naturally to all the what they listen to. And for me, I was just like introduced to all this new stuff, and yeah, that's why a lot of the albums that they had at home, a lot of what they showed me is what then I ended up listening to. And then the music I started it was turned into more rap, because they were like, oh well, what if you take this kind of Georgian weirdness and just rap it a bit? And then they just encouraged me a lot. And like my partner who used to be my musical partner, who now he's moved back up north, he was Patrick, who's making the beats and the melodies for all this. And that's what we then created, this Sad Boy and Anman group, and then also made this little lockdown project called Karmic Larif with like the boys who did the Clockwork Graveyard and us. And some of that is released, some is not. Like a lot of it is just back in on the OneDrive. But but it was an education and experimentation and a growth, kind of musical growth for me. And
that's
really
it. I think it's so kind of evident in your music, like the experimentation and the piece of like not really tying yourself down to a genre or anything like that. Obviously you can hear the sort of
the influence that came from them.
Exactly.
It's really
but then
stuck with me.
It's very much like, even from song to song, if you kind of go, there's not like a linear path. Like everything is quite.
I'm trying to carve a path now. To make it.
Well, what would you say that path is like? Because I think I've had a very whistle stop introduction to some of the Georgian music that you sent across to me. Big fan, by the way.
Yeah.
But from that, with the maybe classic rock stylings and the hip hop influences, like where do you see the progression of your musical sound now that you're carving out that path?
So I think because I went down this hip hop kind of angle, because that's what I was shown and what I wanted to kind of be a part of. A lot of my sound, my vocals range and whatever was just limited to that. But I do love to sing, and I'm just not that good at like the technical side of it, because I've never learned it properly. And I do want to just sing more, like use my full voice more. What I listened to before this, was a lot of just really raw emotional singing and like just going nuts, on the mic, but still within the realms of just like a free flowing, not like a structured BPM rhythmic rapping thing. And I want to mix the two and layers of just still this like Georgian elements, but in a way that's like understandable for both people that don't speak either language.
Definitely. I do feel like you're getting close to what you're describing. Like I was listening.
I've got to send you some news stuff.
Send me some, because so where I got to in terms of like, I was trying to draw a comparison, and not in a sense of like, this is, you are emulating this person, but the person that kind of came to mind for me, I don't know if you've listened to them, is Green Tea Peng.
I love Green Tea Peng.
And I like that. I feel like you maybe settle more on that you have more of the rap styling, but like I can envisage you drawing out voice, the voice.
I guess I tried to because of this like theatre-y I tried to just like do different character voices and like, I don't know, just different corners of my throat. And she's got a very strong like characteristic voice,
and you can literally like draw out the vocals. And I think it works. I do think it. I'm trying
to do balance that the naturalness of it, and like I've worked with some people, musician producers who are just like, here just bring this like nasally character voice, but then here just do it as if you're just not forcing it at all, just no effort, just let it come out. And sometimes some stuff, old stuff that I listen to that I made, kind of just icks me out, where I'm like, oh, I'm doing a voice the whole time. I'm not like just.
It's not me, yeah.
But like it's a character, and it's cool. Like that's why I listen to. Sometimes I'll be listening to like music that's just a charactery music that I don't know. In my opinion, it's just charactery music. But like, and I only will listen to it when I'm in that mood, like Ashaniko or something. I wouldn't say it's like. You know, I don't know. It's she's doing like a very specific character when I'm and you know I'm only listening to that when I'm in that mood. But do you know what I mean? I want it to be this character with this like put on voice and also like a natural, like a mix of it, because there's layers of like sincerity and irony that are embedded. In like modern
you can push
music,
your narrative or your whatever you're trying to say. Like you can use the change in character and voice to portray that.
That's why I like Green Tea Peng though, because her voice is it's all just it feels
just
all so natural,
raw,
and it's even though it's natural, it's got such character, like this elements of.
And I think it's like
different,
It goes around like her persona that she's created. Like everything that she puts out is very much like a marker or a signifier of who she is, which is great. And to be fair, again, like if I'm drawing parallels, like from when I first was put onto you by Rafe, shout out Rafe, like I find everything you do outside of music, it feels from a outside point of view that you put a lot of thought into how you come across. You put a lot of thought into the visuals of things. You put a lot of thought into the creative design direction of it. Is it as like meticulous as it seems, or is it kind of like this is just how you wanted things to be and you let things flow as
like, even in my opinions and what I think and what what the way I perceive things, I don't think I have a solid grounding in a lot of like there is some very solid like whatever ideals or views, whatever, but the rest is like I'm always just thinking it could be this, but it also could be this and it could be this. And like when I'm building something, like I don't know, even simply when I'm just getting dressed or putting together one where like there's always like so many, I don't know, it's like this overwhelming array of options and ADHD options. Like, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and we'll put this with this as well. And I just never want to. I stop layering things, I guess, and it's like it's because I'm like, I feel like if I don't put everything in it, then I'm wasting some things. And I'm like, I want to use everything and just, do you know what I mean? And then sometimes that ends up being like like an inundation of audio or visuals or whatever. But that's just how I operate. I guess if you just leave me to my devices, I will just
get it done.
You know, I will just over decorate the cake or whatever you want to say. But it's not because I'm trying to like, or what is it going to look like from this angle? It's just because I want to use all the sprinkles that I have and all the whatever. I'm just like, but then for me it's like making it overstimulating, whatever I'm doing makes me grounded somehow.
Understood.
Because otherwise I'm like, oh, this isn't enough to capture my attention.
Yeah, like this, not to pry, but like, do you feel
that... No, please do pry.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
But like I think I understand where you're coming from, but do you find that there is like a point for you where you feel like, okay, this is enough stuff, or do you feel like you go until you, if you use a cake analogy, used all the ingredients, used all the sprinkles, and then you're like, it doesn't matter whether it's how I want it to be because everything's used, or do you feel like you have a point in time where you can say, all right, I've used enough to keep my attention, this is fulfilled me or sustained me in the way that
like it's a layered enough sound, or it's there is points where I'm like, and I used to, this is exactly how I used to feel when I used to do a lot of just like drawing or painting or like visual art, and there's a point where I feel like if I keep going I'm gonna ruin it, but I still keep going because I just can't stop myself, but where I'm like, I'm gonna ruin it visually or artistically, I'm gonna ruin it, like it's not gonna be as good, but it's just gonna be more satisfying for me to overdo it because I can feel where I'm gonna ruin it, and I just stop at that point sometimes. But sometimes I just want to keep going. I want to overdo it and I want to ruin it. And like it's like when you're drawing something and it's just like, okay, if I add more detail to this and I just do more lines, it's just gonna be it's gonna be like, you know, Van Gogh on crack. It's not gonna be nice. It's not gonna be interesting. It's gonna be like you need to just put your pen down at that point. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
But it's just sometimes it's satisfying to do that, and then it becomes, the process of creating that becomes cathartic rather than the result. Rather than the result is useful. Well, then you take stuff away and then you sculpt away at it sometimes. Then I'm like, I build something and I'm like, okay, if I take this and this away, then maybe it can fit for this purpose. You know, I don't know. Now I've gone into too general of a
but I
explanation,
definitely do.
yeah.
I definitely do understand it, and I think it's like the piece there is the result versus the process, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there is a thing, whether it's music or art or whatever it is, as a practice, right? I find it when I'm doing this stuff, like recording and like putting together ideas and trying to make a show, where sometimes I'm doing something so I can put out something that I think other people will like and I think will be successful and I think will be viable and will further things along. Yeah. And then other times they're doing these things because I want to. This is the reason we're sat here. The reason I'm doing this is because it's something I enjoy doing, and if I'm no longer getting something out of it, then what's the point? Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Exactly.
Like,
you need to balance it with like, okay, this is, you know, not just for me, for people who can enjoy this, but also because I like, you don't want to be doing something that's just, and I do then listen to, you know, some stuff or watch some stuff that people have done that is clearly just for them. That's clearly just a therapeutic process for them. But then they're also trying to be like, oh, but everyone look at it, and it's just like, I'm not relating, and I don't get it. But I get that this was really amazing for you to make.
It was a passion project.
It was, But then sometimes I'm like, you need to adjust it a little bit. Like, I even see that my own stuff, I'm like, I need to adjust this a little bit if I want this to be accessible for people. Otherwise, it's just my own, like, I don't want to be vile about it, but I'm just, you know, like getting off on this myself. But like, are other people going to understand it? Is it going to be accessible? It's not like down to earth enough for people to grasp. And then, that's when the sculpting.
Yeah, you can chisel away. No, it makes sense. Before we jump into your album, the last thing I just want to touch on is obviously you have a lot of mediums that you work in and then have experience in, whether it be theatre, art, music, etc. Do you feel like music is taking like a priority for you, or are you trying to find a space where it's going to be a combination of everything that you're involved in and trying to merge it all into one?
This is the thing. Honestly, I don't know right now what's going on, because it really depends on. I'm not in charge of the business technical side of things and anything. I don't just like, it would be bad to put me in charge, and I am currently having to be in charge because it's just doing things independently. But what I'm like, whatever, like I just want to do all these different things, and whatever structure someone can provide for me to do them in, I will fit into that. But I just realized, like, I just can't do everything at the same time. So I'm just focusing on something, you know, music a bit, and then something else a bit, you know, whatever. And then let's say, you know, if I get booked for something that's, you know, because recently I've just been doing like larger scale shows and then having to prepare for it. Like I had to prepare for it in a way that would make my focus just be music for a bit. Or and then before that I was doing this like rap opera show in Luxembourg. Just I was like, okay, I can't do recording every week now because I'm doing this now. But then, you know, something goes on the back burner, but just literally whatever comes my way, it's like if you just pour water in a, you know, whatever shape it'll just flow into that shape. But I don't have a structure right now. I'm just I'm waiting for that to come. I will get more disciplined, I guess.
I definitely resonate with it. Like, I think when you have a lot of parts, and I think this is the creative process in a nutshell, is that you can't do everything at all times, and you could be equally as talented and as passionate about whatever medium it is, but the thing that is there will be a point in time where something needs your attention
because it's a business.
Exactly.
And then that's not my business
anymore. Exactly.
Then someone else needs to come in, because it's like I feel like a lot of artists, like real true artists who I ignore. I mean, you know, that's the subjective thing. But people who I see and I'm like, okay, that person's like an actual artist, but is because it's like they're not. Artist it's not a medium, like, you know, a medium's just, you know, that's just a box, a thing that you end up doing, a craft, really. That's a craft. But an artist is just, you know, it spans across everything. It's just a person who wants to create, and whatever they get their hands on, whatever they can do, and they maybe excel at some things more than others, technically, craft wise. But then the only reason that the artists become then mainly in, you know, in a specific field is because someone, you know, is because it has to be that way for the business.
And quite frankly, you're paying me to do it.
Exactly. And then that's why I'm ending up having. But if you leave a lot of artists, I think, to their own devices on a desert island, whatever, give them all the things that exist, they would express everything they would do would be art. Then you know, the little thing they would, and it would span across many things. But you know, we just we have to keep it moving.
We have
days.
to. Bills got to be paid. Bills are going to be paid. Without further ado, could you let me know, and the people at home, what your Vinyl Resting Place album is?
So I brought in an album by a Georgian group called 33A. That's the name. It's saying it in Georgian, in English is weird. But it's basically this artist called Niaz Diasamidze. He's does that's his like band. He does his own other stuff, and this cool. They call this the new album.
Okay.
That's what that Akhali means.
Okay.
Means
Yeah.
And Albomi is album.
Okay.
Albomi. Like what many things that can be translated.
So,
sadly, it just means album. But
you're gonna be teaching me. I'm going to be looking to you for every translation. I'm keen to understand why you picked it. Obviously, it's something that kind of means a lot to you. But like, what was it that kind of led it to be the choice that you'd make over other albums, either newer albums or...
I thought I had to choose something that I grew up listening to because that's because because I grow up listening to things and then it gets embedded, things that cement over a long time for me settle in more. That's just how I operate, I guess, and that's just something that has it needs to take time. So for it to really and that's what over time it's still stuck with me over time, so that's why I was like, it's relevant. There's a combination of Georgian and French, and it's got a combination of traditional instruments and elements and very modern alternative sounds. I like juxtaposition and layering of different things together is just what I like my ears like that because it's like stimulating enough that I'm looking at different it's a multi, not just the fact that it's multilingual, but it's like the multi-genre kind of.
Super
I like
genres.
that I'm looking at different perspectives in one when I'm, listening to something or watching something. I don't like something to be too in one angle. Yeah. And this has many angles, and I love that about it. And the traditional things that spark, something in me because I've grown up kind of with that. It's just an element that resonates with me. But then the new things, as well, I think are well crafted,
For
That's
sure.
what it is.
For me, obviously, don't speak any Georgian.
So, but what does it sound like to you? I wonder what it would hit someone with no understanding. Yeah.
For me, I feel like I'm quite good at being able to. I listen to a lot of music that I don't understand the language. I do listen to music for the music rather than just the lyricism. Yeah. I have two favorite songs: track 6 and track 8.
Track 6 is my favorite as well.
They are like. They kind of epitomise like easy listening for me. Like I think when it comes to the album as a whole, it moves in this space of kind of rock, jazz, and then the traditional music together. Yeah. I think that track 6. How do you pronounce it?
Galactione. So that's the name of a legendary Georgian poet.
Okay.
And his vocals are in it. Did you clock that?
No.
It's at the end, I think, it's the poet himself who's recording, like rare recording of this poet reciting his poetry. And that's, I guess, when I was a kid, that was one of the first things where I was like, wow, the combination of that's art. I was like, wow, because you could take this, it's just making something, putting something new on something that exists has existed for a long time, and turning that into something else is what I loved about it. Because it's like this, this poet reciting something in a traditional classic way, and they put this beat over it, and then it's like he's rapping all this.
I thought it was a feature.
No, it's an old ass recording,
crazy.
And this poet as well is like one of something that's solidified in my upbringing as well, and like this is it's very important to our culture or whatever, and like a lot of Georgian poetry, I think, and has been revered in some circles, but it's it's hard to translate.
Yeah, for sure.
I do translate some as well, and that's like a thing I'm passionate about. So that as well, the fact that they've put this poet in there, and there's a lot of great things about, and the French in this song, and I don't even speak French, but the way that I just love it. I don't know, I just love this, and I've been listening to this a lot. I just wanted to show you something that I've listened to a lot in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though I've been listening on repeat to some stuff that came out now, I still couldn't have listened to it enough times that I listened to this in my life. Do you know what I mean?
What themes do they, to give myself and people at home like insight, like what themes do they bring out in the album in terms of like lyricism? Like what is that they talking about?
I could not even say it in words. It's just so much like, it's just I couldn't even explain it. It's not a simple thing about like you know, just like, oh, love and lie, oh, hope, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's not. There are some songs that this band has that are just like very lovey-dovey songs, like, you know. But this one is just, it's just like just coming to terms with your own existence. I don't know. It's just a lot of layers to it, and a lot of like the ephemerality of like youth. It's just so much is happening in it, and it just, some of it, you know, the French bit, I don't even know what he's saying, right? Like I had translated it, whatever, you know, I have translated, but it just feels emotionally very cathartic, and I guess it just makes you think about a lot of things that maybe you want to process that they aren't even singing about, but because the depth of it puts you in the mindset of processing whatever it is that you need to process as a individual. I don't know, for me that's what it gives that surface. That's what I like about it.
I find that so interesting, because my take from listening to it as a complete outsider is like, I found it like a really like always light and uplifting listen, even where there are elements.
It's not, for me it's like not even like the lightness of it makes it like
but it
dramatic,
because it takes, but that goes back to the juxtaposition piece that you were saying. Like it's the, like, sonically I think it's very, even though it's words that I don't understand, it's sounds that are familiar. Like it
isn't like some kind of crazy avant-garde
no
thing.
Not at all,
like,
but then
it's very kind of easy listening, accessible.
That's
why I liked it as a kid,
for sure, like, of course, but then the concept of it,
the concept is bigger than that.
It's bigger than that, which is great, and I think it's a perfect choice for like this podcast. Like, this is the sort of thing that we're trying to come out. We could talk for till the cows come home about albums that came out last year or something that is modern or contemporary, but there's absolutely nothing that would have the same impact and effect to you as this album. Like it's clear,
and that's what I'm trying to do now, is bring back the simplicity, because, you know, I don't know, I'm just kind of going off this, you know, path of like just things, kind of taking different things from different places, and it's, you know, making this overwhelming construction of some sort, and I want there to be this simplicity and this something that's easy to listen to, grasp onto, and kind of nostalgic and simple, and not, because I think sometimes I love avant-garde, intense, crazy music, whatever, but sometimes when we put all these bells and whistles, in my case anyway, you're just trying to cover what's just simple and there and hard to face, you know, and that's why just these simple melodies are good to draw yourself back to sometimes.
Exactly, 100%. And I think as well, if you're looking for something to make a point, like you say, these things are often very hard to face. So you're already confronting your audience with something that they're naturally going to try and shy away from. If you then put crazy left field production out, like you're almost like you're testing people to give it a go. Whereas if it's something that people can like initially just calm into, relax into, and
lure them in,
and then hit false sense of actually, why are we here?
That is what that's what I thought was like, that's the best new way to go about. Like, if I'm trying to put in some nuts kind of like weird thing in it, like lure, start with nice kind of easy,
full
and
sense
then
of security. But then I think it is a useful way to deliver a message, and I think it's not a revolutionary thing. I think there is a lot of music that is poignant in its tone and poignant in its commentary on life, society, whatever it may be. But then if you were to just listen to it and ignore the content, you'd be like, this is just a lovely, pleasant song with some guitar in the background, or this is a really chill jazz piece, or whatever it may be. It's powerful in its own way, even if the music itself doesn't like slap you across the face. Like, I don't think it always has to.
It doesn't always have to. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Do you feel like you are trying to take influences from
this?
From artists like this, an album like this?
I haven't like consciously, but I do want to, now that, you know, when you made me think about what album, and when I thought back to this album, I haven't listened to this in a while, and I'm thinking it would be good to take some sort of influence from the simplicity and the, you know, just juxtaposition of things. Like, I do, and I have maybe tried to do that before subconsciously, but I have also consciously taken some influence from things I've grown up with. But I just honestly want to develop what I'm doing and reach new corners of it, because otherwise I feel like I'm not growing when I'm doing. I want to just have it be ever changing, and to get to new depths of and new ways of trying things. Like that's the point, I guess.
Oh, sick. I love that. And I, as much as I ask all these questions with like, it sounds like there's an aim for a finite or definite answer. Like the whole joy of this is that there isn't. Like, you want to be progressing, you want to be evolving, you want to be changing as an artist, and like we are so fresh and new into these things. Like like the music that you make in 5 years is it should be different. It should like if it's not a progression from where you are now, and if it's not taken in your experiences from the things that you do in your life, then you're almost not doing it right. So I definitely resonate with that and understand where you're coming from. You mentioned, feel free if it's not something you want to speak about, but obviously your heritage and your like affinity to where you're from is very clear in your music and your taste, and it's something that you put out there. I saw that you've been back in Georgia with the protest, and
of course, I do want to.
I didn't.
Should have mentioned that already. No, but with this music as well, that's again forgot to the fact that this guy who's making this, Niaz, who I talk about, he's as well, supporting and fighting our cause, and trying to, and a lot of musicians, a lot of I would sit and talk for hours about amazing Georgian musicians who've been in the game for years, or ones that are popping up in the last 5-6 years, who are, I think, got a really beautiful, fresh, unique taste that that a lot of the rest of the world would benefit from and hear, and that's why we want all of us who are trying to fight this like autocratic Russian regime. We want to share our heritage and new significant art and taste with the rest of the world, with Europe, because I think that would make us stronger, and it's like the whole tea bag analogy that the James A. cast the tea bag, the EU analogy, where it's like you put the tea bag in, it's like if the whole cup becomes stronger. If you take it out, then it's like it goes directly in the bin. And it's like that's why I think, and that's why a lot of the cause and the reason, the direction we're going is wanting to be part of the EU, because that would enrich both parties, and I think the fact that people haven't heard of a lot like this, or a lot of other Georgian music and art and stuff, is not just a loss to them, but it's a loss to us as well, because it would make our culture and whatever just stronger and more vibrant and just excel. And that's why a lot of these conservative and whatever people who are trying to oppress and separate us from the rest of the world want is that they're just angling that our traditions and culture will get lost, and what they're really afraid of is that the progressive, liberal views will infiltrate and stop the things that are actually wrong, like the oligarchy and the homophobia, and like that will be erased, which for good. But like they don't want that to be erased, so they're like pretending it's because that the traditions will be erased. And what about our Georgian dancing? Like everyone wants to see that, and if we become part of a bigger thing, like they'll make that even. There'll be like what I'm imagining, like there would be more fucking whatever Georgian restaurants or like dancing or traditional folk places in like random countries, like of Europe, than there is now, and it will just grow both places more rather than less. And that's what that's what we're trying to do, is spread that word. But it's really difficult in this day and age when Trump is sitting in Putin's pocket to then have hope for places like Georgia and Ukraine, because it's just like, well, it seems like the rest of the world is also going to that alt-right direction.
It is pretty terrifying.
There's not much we can do at this point, but everyone back home is like just fighting non-stop. It's ridiculously, it's just really emotional. It's horrible to see how much they can just keep pressing people down, because it's really a majority at this point. It has been for a long time, but they haven't been out like this in the street, and it's going on for like 100 and something days at this point, non-stop, everyday protest, people getting beaten up, like just ruthlessly fined and charged and sent to prison, taken to prison and not even let out for court, like until like this guy, for example, who's an actor who was just publicly saying some stuff against the government, just got taken in the night, to take to prison, hasn't been let out to go to the court at all. Like, he's now had a court date. It's just absolute fuckery going on there, and I just awful. From here I'm like, we don't know what to do apart from like writing to our MPs or whatnot. But it's just that's why I'm trying to. That's why I thought at this time it was more important for me to share music that was of that angle and from Georgia rather than just something that I'm listening to now.
There is so much that comes from diversity. There's so much that comes from like an element of unity. Like, and I think it's obviously you see it here with Brexit and like you say, a lot of all over the world, all over Europe, there is a lot of like, there's a rise and a renaissance of right-wing nationalist thinking and ideology and behaviours, and you think like, how I struggle
like
how can you,
what's going on?
How can you sit there and think that this is the best for it? Like,
they don't think that. I don't know. I think they don't. I don't think they truly. A lot of the people who are pushing that, they don't truly think that it's the best thing for everyone.
No,
there's just a level of human selfishness or what. I don't know. I don't know how to even argue, but I think it's the reality. I don't know. The way I see it is that a lot of people who are looking at things in that more right wing way are just more ruthless and able to get their way than the other people who it's just because it's just they're in their nature to be ruthless. Like whatever it is angle you're pushing, you're gonna either be like intense about it and push it more. In Georgia, for example, the tactics they're using, this like whatever oppressive side of people, the tactics they're using are much more like just unethical and but they work, like taking completely like twisting the narrative and like saying literal lies on TV, do you know what I mean, is something that obviously will get you straight away, will get you results. But do you know what I mean, you will only do that, you will only use those kind of tactics if your values and morals are about the people side and and the true and for people to make their decisions based on like facts. But that's why it slows us down, being like, trying to having whatever socialist whatever mindset is in itself, it's trying to be fair, or fair, being fair is the or being
is the paramount thing.
And then but because the being fair is the paramount thing, that makes the tactics to get your angle and to get your way, it makes it harder to get your way, basically, because it slows us down. What they work fast. Do you know what I mean? These autocrats, they move fast.
I'm glad that you feel comfortable talking about it and happy to talk about it, like, because from what I see, like it's humbling. Like from my perspective, I'm just unaware. Like
that's the one thing we have is the
unaware.
Power of information, and spreading information, and we need to be using that more.
100%.
But sometimes I'm even just like, I don't even know what's the point. I'm posting about it, the same thing on my Instagram story. Like, what's that gonna do? But then it's like you have to do something.
You have to do something. And I think
you feel powerless a lot of the time.
And it's hard. It's hard, and I can only imagine like it being home, but you're based in here and you're darting around Europe. Like,
here,
it's so difficult to not be on the ground, and like you feel like you're not necessarily doing much, but the awareness is the start of these things, and I think
exactly
it's better than kind of sticking your head in the sand and ignoring things and pretending that they don't exist.
Definitely want to do that a lot of the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Don't we all? Because I think we are all. There's so much shit going on in the world, and we are all trying to just like cope with the day-to-day normalities and struggles that you do. But then you can't be blind to other people's struggles, because that is how people just get desensitized.
Exactly.
And
at least know about it and try to
talk about it, and when you have the chance to bring it up and have like open discussions about it, because it's the start of how these things progress from a movement or an idea to a movement to a change. Like that is where we get to, and music is a big part of that. And I think that if there is forms of expression that relate to what people are going through, like that makes things even more powerful than just this sounds nice. This is a pleasant thing to listen to. This is something I enjoy. This is something that I enjoy and actually means something. It matters. It's talking about real world issues. It's talking about something that counts. So like I think more power to you.
That's why
pushing.
music has to be, political music especially, has to be accessible, and people can hear it and understand it.
Exactly.
It's not just like weird and abstract, too abstract.
No, and it's not this thing that is. It's not this thing to say that. I think struggle shouldn't always be portrayed in like a harsh fashion, right? Like the realities of a situation, realities of life and pain, whether it be on a grand scale or a small scale, we all understand. We know what it is, but then the ways in which you express that do not have to directly like correlate to that. You can express it in a way that people will hear it, and you want people. It's the equivalent of people on maybe the more far right side using more like malicious tactics, like taking something that is universally bringing joy and bringing peace, or like making people feel better, and using that to,
of course, that's the least you can.
It's a powerful thing in its own way. Way more political than we ever get on the podcast, but I think it was. I'm glad that we can have the conversation. What are you listening to? What you mentioned a couple of artists that you think are doing cool stuff, but like if it's people that you're working with, it's people that you've listened to, or just general music that's on your Spotify that's come up on your daily, like what's kind of running through your headphones?
There's so much that I couldn't say, but I don't even know where to start that. But I was just thinking of like other albums.
I was
because the thing is, I don't really even, I'm not even like focused enough as a person to listen to albums fully. But like the albums that I'll say that like I've listened to properly on repeat, mostly Little Sims, like the last couple ones she's dropped.
She's dropping a new one.
She's dropping a new one.
This year.
I'm very excited for that.
I'm so excited.
But and because like sometimes I might be introvert. We listened to that fully, and then like we watched like the boys who I was telling you about, whose music you also got to check out. Clockwork Graveyard, shout out their new album. We all went to, because I think did they show me Little Sims I feel like was just accessible for all of us in growing up in London.
You're not giving them their props,
I'm not giving them for that. But then we all went to see that live, and I remember just like the first time, I never really liked watching concerts, even though I'm making music. I didn't like watching like a full. And listening to albums. Like I'm like I'll listen to one or two songs from this artist and one or two songs from this artist. I'll go to a gig with loads of different artists. But I'm not gonna listen to like a full album of one artist and stand there the whole time because I don't like all the songs. And also I'm just standing there and watching it. What am I here for? Literally, that's always activity. I've seen like whatever, like everyone I've seen live. I mean, no, I liked it, but I was like, okay, this is getting long now. Do you know what I mean? But during that show, I like stood there at the front, like my friends were all about, I just went somewhere else and I just was crying and watching the whole show. Literally just cried. I don't know why. It was ridiculous. I was just hit something in me, and the whole band and everything. And it wasn't even the songs weren't even, it's not they're sad or anything. They just cathartically unlocked something. I don't know. So that Little Sims obviously, and been listening to Doechii a lot recently, and I hear that there's a collab of some sorts happening.
That's gonna be
definitely
elite.
Another album, and this is a reason why I liked it so much that I listened, is because it was a combination of different artists and things or whatever. Was one that my friends bought and had at home, was the Swindle album, the New World. What is it called? This is the New World. Beautiful album.
The New World, the New World. That's a sick album. That's a sick album. Oh my!
And the art on that's another thing I love about the art. It was that one and 99.9% that they had at home that we would just bang out constantly, and I would just still constantly listening to this. And like Joy Crooks is on there.
Joy Crooks, Koji Radical.
And Joy Crooks, for example, is who I like listen to only specifically when I'm like disappointed in the male species, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And like I bang her, like, do you know what I mean? And then it makes it, and then her and like Ray or like Lola Young or I would be banging that out only when I'm in that mood. Do you know what I mean? When I'm just like, this guy's pissing me off now. I've got to bang, I've got to bring him out. Do you know what I mean? And I like that as well, that there are these moods that you can shift into with, you know, to listen to this kind of music. But when you're not in any specific mood, albums like this that just encapsulate everything, you know, that's what I love. But all these artists that I just listed as well have so many different, like, you know, their discography spans across a lot. But Little Sims in particular, I feel like whatever mood I'm in, I can listen to a full album. And
just because you said it, like, so you are not necessarily a live music person or like a gig person.
If you're doing something like that's going to stimulate me, and so I don't know, if you're just standing there and doing a song and being like, thanks. And I hate my own shows a lot of the time. I'm just like, I've just stood here and done a song and then done another song, and I don't know. I want to do something else, and that's why I like when artists do, like my friend Dan Parties, shout out Dan Parties, amazing musician. His live show is incredible because he just does so much cool shit and theatrical shit that like just really immerses you and like comes with a megaphone, runs around, throws flowers, different things, different each thing. But his songs are theatrical, also bops, big bops, but also like does these theatrical things that I think are very unique to him, but like it really works. And like there is other artists, like so I like Laurie Anderson or whoever, like who do these like whatever, like really abstract interesting shows or whatever, like, you know, David Bowie obviously like doing these crazy costumes, like that's what I think artistically is, you know, incredible as for a show, because when I think of a show, I think of an audiovisual experience, a theatrical experience. But there are some artists like who you watch their like live shows who aren't in like elaborate crazy costumes. They just have a band, it's like stripped back whatever, but they're just their vocals and intensity and the things they say in between are like Amy Winehouse doesn't do tricks, but like she's watching videos of her shows gives you chills. It's incredible, and I listen to that all the time. But yeah, I'm trying to work on that to make it, to bring more elements of engagement live, you know, because I sometimes I'm like standing there and I'm literally getting bored of myself. Like, so it really,
I feel I seeing the videos from your Southbanks at the show like that, I feel like
it depends.
You're being
like, sometimes I'm like,
yourself.
it's fun, and then sometimes like, if the sound as well, like if the sound isn't great, then I'm I need to be doing the splits right now or something. Otherwise, why are people even watching me? They could just be listening to this in their headphones. Like,
I hear you, and I think I think
it depends.
There's a lot of positive to take from that, because the art of performance, I think, is not dying, but I think there are a lot less artists these days who are, whether it be through like visual elements or the sound and the music that they're creating, there are a lot less people who are performers. There are a lot of recording artists, there are a lot of incredibly talented musicians, and there are a lot of like there's so much amazing music being put out into this world. But
the performance is a separate art,
and they're charging you more and more money to go and see them. So it's like
better than it's not. Sometimes the experience of me listening to it in my headphones on my own is better.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, then that's not.
That's not the way. It's not doing it.
It's not up to scratch.
In fact,
and I don't have a band, and sometimes I was like, oh, this is boring. There's no real like live thing happening, and that's why like it really you do have to fill the room somehow with
the singer I love, like, don't get me wrong, Amalou. She's super talented.
Yeah.
And my mate got me tickets for her show in Islington. She didn't do anything. And she sounded good. She sounded good. She looked like but like,
and it always doesn't sound as good as recording, because you don't have the full control.
Exactly.
So that's why you got to do other stuff.
But it was like her standing in the Islington Assembly with like a wind machine, and that was that.
I'll send you some more Georgian music.
Well, what we can do is I think would be really nice is like if you give me like a list of Georgian artists that people could listen to, put that out, and then we can play
I'm
the
like,
music.
that's a responsibility of like make sure not to miss anyone, and like plug my friends, but also plug the other ones. And it's like
we could do as many.
I want to like anonymously submit. But there's so many.
Thank you so much for coming on. No, I've had a lovely chat. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
It's been really illuminating.
Good. No, I feel like you like slipped in very naturally to it, like very comfortable with it. So it was class.
I love to chat.
It was a good music chat, and I'm gonna enjoy editing this because I have absolutely we've touched on so many different. But it's good. This is what it is. Like, I'd rather have an expansive conversation about a range of different topics that stem from the music than just do like, here are the questions.
Yeah.
Is it a good album? Do you like this? So no, I've had a great time. I've really enjoyed it. I found it like illuminating and enlightening from a number of different reasons. This was just like a learning episode for me, which was nice.
I'm glad. I rarely provide.
Honestly, I'm rarely this intellectual on the podcast. So this was it. This was a change.
So sick.
This was a change, and it was a really welcome one as well. Thank you for listening at home.
Yes.
Please remember to follow the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook if you fancy
Facebook
it.
as well.
Yeah, Facebook as well. Please follow Anman. All her socials will be in the description. I mean, I don't know about all that. And we will catch you very soon for another episode of Vinyl Recipe Plays. Peace.